Module 10, the Endocrine System. Introduction.
The endocrine system works very closely with the nervous system. They both have the job of regulating the body, maintaining homeostasis. The word endocrine has a literal meaning of within and separate. This is because it's a system that works within your body, regulating organs and tissues that are far removed or separate from the locations of the endocrine tissue. It does this by secreting chemicals that work as messengers. And though this is not a chemistry course, you are going to become very familiar with a special group of chemicals called hormones that play a crucial part in keeping your body working well.
We're going to begin our discussion about the endocrine system by first comparing this system with the nervous system. After all, both body systems have a similar goal, that of regulating the body. Well, first, both systems are control centers for feedback systems. This means if the body is experiencing a variable that gets too high or too low, such as blood pressure, for example, it will send out a response so that change is brought back to homeostasis. Sometimes just the nervous system initiates a response. Other times just the endocrine system does. And still other times both work together to bring the body back to homeostasis. Yet these are different systems because of several points. One is the way they respond to control feedback. The nervous system, for example, responds rapidly. In fact, its response time has been measured in milliseconds. But the endocrine system responds more slowly. It often responds in seconds, minutes, or hours. Additionally, the duration of influence is different for each system. What does that mean? Well, that refers to how long the influence lasts after the control has ceased. A good example would be if your nervous system stopped sending continual messages to your muscles, so they stopped maintaining tone and balance. If that suddenly stopped, you would fall down, right? So though the nervous system responds quickly, the duration of influence it has is very short. On the other hand, say you're walking along the hallway of your house and your younger brother jumps out wearing a mask and scares you. Your endocrine system releases adrenaline, so you are instantly ready to run in case this sudden scare requires you to. But since it's just your little brother, you don't run, yet you still feel your heart racing along with that energy surge for a while. That's because the duration of influence for the endocrine system is long. Well, these systems also differ in the effectors they control. You may remember the nervous system only controls two effectors, the muscles and the glands of the body. But the endocrine system is able to control almost every cell in the body. It's much more pervasive. These systems also send signals with different strengths. The nervous system sends signals via action potentials. Remember that action potentials are an all or nothing response. They cannot change their strength. The rate at which these action potentials is sent determines the size of the stimulus. Yet the endocrine system can send signals with variable strengths. Thus, the effectors will respond differently to those signals, depending on that strength. If a little bit of hormone is released, a little bit of response occurs. If a lot of hormone is released, a lot of response occurs. Now, how do specific cells know to respond to specific chemicals released by the endocrine system? Well, they have to have receptors for those hormones. In fact, cells that have receptors for a specific hormone are target cells for that hormone. The receptors are actually specific proteins formed into special shapes so that they will perfectly fit and bind to a certain hormone chemical, like a key fitting into a lock. When a hormone binds to a receptor, then, it turns on a specific response by the cell. So if you have a cell that doesn't have a receptor for a certain hormone, it will not respond to that hormone. Now, within the endocrine system, signal strength can also be controlled by making it easier for the target cells to respond to the hormones released. This is done by the target cells producing more receptors on their surface, so they are able to bind with even the smallest amount of hormone. There's one more way these two systems differ. It has to do with how they repair themselves in the event of injury. Remember, you learned that the nervous system is composed of neurons that cannot be replaced, except for the olfactory neurons. So if you have a neuron that dies, it will not be reproduced by other neurons. They cannot undergo mitosis. Now, if a peripheral nervous system axon is cut, it can regrow and repair itself if there's not too much separation between the axon ends and they're lined up closely. But the endocrine system is made up of glands. Glands are composed of epithelial tissue. Thus, when endocrine glands are injured, they can repair themselves.